Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Honestly, I've lost track of the number of times that I have fallen off the YouTube bandwagon. I don't even have any excuses for it at this point in time, but I genuinely do want to be more consistent on YouTube because I prefer creating long form content to like the 15-20 second situation that's going on other platforms. So hopefully we're gonna stick to it this time. So today we're gonna be doing a makeup tutorial, just like a nice good old school makeup tutorial. I feel like I haven't worn a bold lip in quite some time, and I do think that a lot of people are nervous about wearing like a bold color on their lips, but I'm gonna show you how you can wear a bold lip color, maybe like a bold red today, and I'm gonna show you how you can make it work with the rest of your makeup so it doesn't look over the top. So let's jump into it. So I'm just gonna start off with moisturizer first. This is Faye Beauty's Face Skin Daily Dip Moisturizer. It's such a nice everyday moisturizer. I've come to almost the end of it, like you can see, and I think that this will be great for pretty much all skin types, but especially if you're like a normal to dry skin. This does work really well under makeup as well because it's very hydrating, and that's what you want. I'm gonna keep the skin prep quite low-key and easy because I don't want to overwhelm you with products. So we're just gonna moisturize the skin because that is really just the basics of skin prep. Make sure you take your moisturizer under your eye as well because you want to make sure that's hydrated so your concealer sits well. I already have some lip balm on my lips from before. It's definitely something you want to use as part of your skin prep, especially when you're going in for like a bold lip color where the attention is going to be on your lips. You want to make sure your lips are nice and hydrated, so whatever lip color or lip product you choose, it goes on and sits really well. So I use the Zara Beauty Lip Oil because that's something that I absolutely love, and I just slathered that on my lips and now I'm good to go. So for my complexion, I'm going to be going in with a tinted moisturizer because I want to keep everything else very toned down and muted so that the focus is on the lip. I'm going to be going in with Smashbox's Halo Tinted Moisturizer. I actually haven't used this in a while, so I have no idea if this is still going to suit me or not, the shade, but let's just see. So I've just taken like literally a little bit and I'm just gonna dot it all over to begin with, and you can obviously use your hands, you can use a sponge, you can use a brush. I think I'm gonna go in with a brush. The brush that I'm using is the PAC 223 brush, and I'm just gonna use this to blend out the tinted moisturizer. And you can see how like easily and quickly that just melted into my skin. No effort at all. This is in the shade Light Neutral. I don't know if I mentioned that, and you can see the shade is actually a pretty good match. It is basically just looking like my skin, but it is giving a bit of like a tiny bit of coverage and a little bit of brightness, which I like. Okay, so now because we went in with such a minimal base where you can still see like my pimple scars, you can still see my dark circles, all of that, I am going to pair this tinted moisturizer with a bit of a more full coverage concealer so that now I can really pinpoint where I want that coverage, and that's going to help me get that very even but natural base. So for concealer, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. This is in the shade Golden Beige, and I'm going to be really particular about where I want this concealer to sit. So I'm going to add a little bit to the inner corners of my under eye, definitely a little bit on this pesky pimple scar, a little bit around my mouth, and then just take a step back, look at yourself in the mirror and decide, okay, what are the places of my face that need a little bit of help with coverage. And then again, I'm gonna go in with the same brush and blend that out, but this time I'm gonna be a little bit more concentrated on where I applied the concealer initially. So I'm not gonna just go crazy because I want my concealer to be very specific, and I'm just gonna pat it into place. You see how that just ate up the scarring immediately? Even with my under eyes, I'm like focusing it on the inner corner, which is where I have maximum darkness, and then I'm gonna drag it outwards. Okay, now I'm gonna teach you a bit of a hack, especially when it comes to doing a bold lip. A lot of people at this point would go in with their bronzer or blush or powder and just basically continue finishing their complexion. What I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna jump straight into the lip. So by doing the lip first, I can then use that as my sort of standard and as my gauge for how much other color and how much other product I want. So let's do lips. So for my lips, I'm a bit confused. I have two options. Both of them are actually from MAC. This one is the MAC Locked Kiss ink in the shade Ruby True, and this one is MAC's Retro Matte Liquid Lip Color in the shade Feels So Grand. Both of these are here and they're both stunning reds. This one looks like it's a little bit more warm neutral. This one looks like it's a little bit more cool toned. I'm gonna swatch them both for you. So right now we're doing Locked Kiss ink. So pretty. It's definitely not that warm. I thought this was a little warmer than it is, but it's actually a pretty neutral red. And now we're gonna swatch Feels So Grand. Definitely more cool toned. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. I'm gonna go in with the Retro Matte lip color in Feels So Grand because I definitely like a cool toned red. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you remove your excess product, especially with colors like red that take a while to clean up. If you need to fix a mistake, you want to go in with as little product as possible. And now with whatever is left on the brush, I'm going to take my time and build this up. Don't be in a rush to get that perfect outer line for now. Just fill up the insides and then you can slowly build up the shape. Okay, and now that I'm happy with the color, I'm now going to focus on using the edge of the brush, this little tip that's right here, to define the lip edge. Take your time, that is key. Also notice how I'm placing my pinky finger on my chin to act like a bit of a hand support, because otherwise when I'm doing it, if I don't have my pinky on, my hand is a bit more free to move around more than I need it to. So this way I can keep my hand grounded and I can get a little bit more precision in my strokes. Okay, that is my red lip done. It is such a pretty color. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the rest of the makeup, and I'm gonna build off the rest of the makeup look and decide the intensity of things based on how it goes with my current red lip. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is actually a bit of a hack for you. I'm gonna go in with blush. A lot of people are confused about what blush goes well with a red lip, and here is my answer. Take a blush brush. I'm using this one from Renee Cosmetics. This is their Blush R2. I'm just gonna use whatever I have on my hand right now, and I'm just gonna get a little bit of that onto my brush. So you can also just like take some off of your lips if you want, but the idea is to use your lip color on your cheeks. And now I'm just gonna very gently build up this on my cheeks as my blush. Okay, you want to make sure you're taking just a little bit at a time. The swatch on my hand has pretty much dried out. You can see it's really not budging, which is perfect for the amount that I want on my brush, which is really not a lot. Do you see what I mean? It just works in terms of building a bit of cohesiveness between your blush and your lips. You can always go in with your foundation brush from before and just help to like soften it out and blend it out so that nothing looks too much. I'm gonna use Ruby's Organics Creme Duo blush and bronzer. Just gonna take a little bit on like a thin brush like that and just use it to add a bit of warmth and a bit of color to the perimeters of my face, and I'm gonna make sure that that's nice and blended out. So notice the placement of my bronzer. I'm placing it under the blush and also under my cheekbone. So for powder, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me loose powder. This is in the shade 20 light medium. This is quite a thick powder, but it is a powder that helps in keeping everything locked into place whilst adding a tiny bit of coverage, so I like that. I'm going to use, this brush doesn't even have a name, I have no idea, but it's like a really small dome sort of shaped brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of this and I'm going to tap off a lot of it into my palm. Okay, the idea is that I want very little powder to go on at a time. I don't want to add a lot of powder. Now for my under eyes, before I powder my under eyes, I'm going to just take the concealer brush from before and just make sure I don't have any creases, because if you put powder on top of under eye creases, you're basically going to set the creases. So I'm gonna make sure that I remove those creases first. Tap, tap, tap. Also keep in mind the climate you live in. Like if you live in like a country like India, which is very humid, then you want to make sure to add a little bit more powder than you would normally think, because it does help to keep it sort of locked into place once you step out of the house and you start sweating. But if you're like me and you live in like a country like the UK, which is not so humid, in fact it's a lot more dry, you can get away with a little less powder and maybe a little bit more of like your creamy glowy products, because your makeup is not going to sweat off as easily. In fact, it can start to look a little bit dry, so you want to add that creaminess and that glowiness back to your skin. Okay, we're gonna do eyes next. For the eyes, I want to do something that's very classic and very elegant and goes with everything, not just a bold lip. I'm basically going to be doing like a really mini wing with a powder eyeshadow, so not with an eyeliner. It's going to be a very soft mini wing using the Too Faced Born This Way, the natural nudes. So it's got a really pretty range of different kinds of nudes in mattes and shimmers. For this look, I'm just going to be using the brown from here, so you can basically just use any brown eyeshadow. And I'm going to take a tiny brush. So can you see how small this brush is? I'm just going to take a little bit of this brown, tap off the excess. Now you want to just start really close to the end of your lash line right here and just go back and forth, adding a little bit of that brown close to the outer lash line. And then you can slowly start pushing it inwards towards the inner corner. You can also take that same brown under your lower lash line. Again, you want your focus to be on the outer corner right here. And then once you're happy with the pigment here, then you can push the color into the inner corner. And make sure you're going in with like a soft hand. You want it to look very soft and like almost like barely there kind of a look. Can even just use my fingers to soften that out because I don't want it to look so intense. I'm not going to add any more product onto my brush. I'm just going to look straight directly into my mirror and I'm just going to pull up. Tell me you can see this little wing situation that's developing right here. It's just like a little bit of a pull. It doesn't need to be like a sharp wing. It doesn't need to be a prominent shape. It just needs to be a little bit of like an extension of your eyeshadow. And if you're someone that has like a very heavy hood right here, you can pull it out a little bit more horizontally if you want to avoid your eyeshadow going inside the hood of your eye. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other eye. If you do feel like it's gotten a little bit messier, you can take like a small brush with a little bit of concealer and just help to sort of clean up under it. But also just keep in mind when it comes to like using eyeshadows to create wings, you do have a little bit more like leeway with it. It doesn't have to be perfect and it still looks quite nice. Just take your time going back and forth, getting that shape that you like. But trust me, do not overthink this. Okay, we are gonna move on to mascara next. I'm gonna be using Clinique's High Impact Waterproof Mascara on my upper and lower lashes. I feel like eye looks are just incomplete without mascara. I just think that mascara finishes off the shaping of your eye. With makeup in general, I just think it's all about adding small details to create an overall full look. And I think that mascara is one of those small details that actually does have a lot of impact. Does that make sense? I'm going to be going in with eyebrows next. I'm going to be using e.l.f.'s Wow Brow Mascara. This is in the shade Deep Brown. And if you're not following me on Instagram already, I had shown you guys like I've uploaded a video there of like a easy hack of doing your brows, which is what I'm doing right now. Fluff up your eyelashes. My brain's not working. Fluff up your eyebrows in like every direction possible and then comb your hair back in the right direction, and that's just gonna give you like really easy fluffy brows. Okay, so my brows are complete and pretty much all of my makeup is on at this point. So at this point is when I would recommend, not just for like this kind of a look, but in general when you're doing a full face of makeup, just take like a minute to do like finishing touches. So I'm just taking my blush brush and I'm just adding a bit more color on top of what I already had because I felt like my cheeks needed it. Okay, so for highlighter, I'm going to be going in with one of my absolute favorites. This is the Dior Backstage Glow Face palette, and I am going to be going in with a mix of these top two highlighters right here. You know what, let's just go in with a fan brush. This is the CS Essentials Fan F6, and I'm just going to take a little bit of both sides and I'm just going to pop that onto the high points of my cheek. With highlighter, I don't like my highlighters to look super excessive. Like, I'm not somebody that likes it to look like, you know, what do they say? People say, oh, you can see the glow from the stars and stuff like that. I just feel like on camera it looks great, but when it comes to actually seeing in person, I feel like it looks like you can see a stripe of highlighter and shine there, and I'm not a fan of that at all because you guys know this by now, all of my tutorials and in general my approach to makeup is very real life friendly. I don't care about how it comes across on camera as much as I care about how it looks in real life. Like, I want you guys to be able to do your makeup in a way where it looks good in real life. You can also take a little bit of like the highlighter and just like pop some into the inner corner. Just a little like playful glow there. I'm gonna lock it all into place using MAC's Fix Plus. This is in their gold light variant. So this one basically sprays with the tiniest gold flecks just to add an extra glow. So Okay, so that is it. This is my final look. I really hope you guys like the way this turned out, and I hope you took away something from it, especially something to do with how to wear a bold lip without getting intimidated. I hope the hacks in this video have helped you. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any requests for the next video. Leave them down in the comments because I will be reading and replying to all of them. Thank you so much for sticking around if you did till so far. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!